Hi, it's Marco Cattaneo, representing Charles Sturt University with yet another study aid for the subject ITI 597, the subject that covers IT service management according to ITIL version 3. Hey, in this topic I would like to discuss the CSI model with you people out there. The CSI model stands for the Continual Service Improvement Model. So the CSI model, it's really like a CSI roadmap. It tells you how to implement service management like efficiently and effectively. We're moving through a whole bunch of steps from what is the vision to where are we now to where do we want to be, how do we get there, did we get there, and also how do we keep the momentum going. And we'll be looking at all these steps into more detail. But this overall, this is known as like the CSI model or the CSI roadmap. So step number one, what is the vision? What is the vision? What is the business vision? What is the mission? What are the goals? What are the objectives? What are we going to do? What would we like to achieve? Where do we want to be? So a vision is a statement of where you would like to be as an organization, as a group, as an individual, typically somewhere in the future, because you are not there as yet. So this is an example I've written myself for Charles Sturt, to be the world's #1 university of choice for distance education. That's why I'm doing all this stuff online. So step number 2, where are we now? So we've just set our vision in the previous step. So the next question is like, where are we right now? So what is the status quo? Currently, how mature are we? Currently, do we have the right processes in place? Or do we have a long way to go before we reach our destination and before we reach our vision? So this is where we are right now. We may not like it, we may not enjoy it, but it's a fact. Okay, so typically we're going to perform some maturity or baseline assessments, or maybe you're going to use other types of measurements that you use to tell you where you are. And realize a baseline is typically a tool to compare apples with apples, or to compare the previous situation against the new situation. So step number 3, where do we want to be? We know where we want to be in the future, that's our vision. We know where we are right now, that's the status quo. But there may be a huge gap between where we are right now and where we would like to be. So what are we going to do in between? Well, hopefully we're going to set some targets, because if you aim for nothing, that's what you will get, typically. So set some targets for like, hey, where would you like to be tomorrow, next week, next month, in like 3 months from now, in 6 months from now, in a year from now, in 2, 3, 5, 10 years from now. Set yourself some measurable targets, set yourself some milestones of where you would like to be, so you know you're moving towards your vision. So step number 4, how do we get there? We know where we want to be in the future, the vision. We know where we are right now, the current status. We know where we would like to be in a month from now, in 3 months from now, in 6 months from now, and so on. So how do we get there? How do we actually achieve all these milestones we've set for ourselves in the previous step? So we need to make some service and process improvements, because otherwise it's not going to happen. So we need to invest in our people, in our processes, in our products, in our partners. We probably, most likely, need to make some cultural and structural changes. We need passion, we need perseverance, we need persistence. We can't just let go, we need to stick to IT service management. We need to invest in this service improvement plan. This plan that will document and outline everything we need to do and how all these activities are related to each other. We need to communicate. We need to make sure we've got like continuous commitment and involvement from senior management. All these things and more. That's how we get there. Step number 5. Did we actually get there? How do we know we've arrived? How do we know we've achieved some of these milestones, or ultimately we've achieved our vision? Okay, although the vision is typically something that always like moves forwards into the future. ITIL is not a destination. ITIL is a journey. It's a journey of continuous and never-ending improvements. So, but of course, you need to understand whether or not you've achieved a certain milestone, and therefore you need to think of measurements that will lead into metrics, that will lead into like key performance indicators, into critical success factors. So you get like a grip on your processes. So you know whether or not your processes are actually like achieving your IT and business goals, your IT and business objectives. And ultimately, are you achieving your mission? Are you achieving the business's vision? Are we there? Are we there yet? Also, then we get there. If you get like access to the right data, the right information, you are able to create knowledge. You are able to control and to govern your IT environment. So you've got like IT governance in place. And ultimately, you will be able to make the right decisions. And ultimately, that will give you like the power of wisdom. So also, it says here, progressive elaboration and control. So an ITIL is a continuous like fine-tuning exercise. You don't get it right like immediately. It's like always like steering the organization and steering all your activities, putting them back on track. Because the sooner you put your like activities back on track, the more pain you're going to avoid. And avoiding pain is typically a lot more pleasurable than living with a lot of pain. So, did we get there? The message is like, you need to capture the measurements and metrics that tell you whether or not you're on track, that tell you whether or not you achieved your milestones, and ultimately you've achieved your vision. And finally, at the last step, step number 6, how do we keep the whole momentum going? So we've done our service management implementation. We've increased maturity from level 2, for example, to level 3. So how do we stay at level 3? Because we don't want to like slide back to like old, previous, like less mature levels. Well, a lot of keywords here on the slide. We need like leaders and champions. We need like ongoing communication. We need like ongoing training and training programs. We need to perform like regular audits and self-audits. So it's a continuous exercise of monitoring and fine-tuning, like putting the processes back on track if they seem to go off track. So it's never-ending and continuous improvement. And of course, we need passion, lots of passion and lots of energy, because otherwise it's not going to work. Otherwise it's not going to happen. Okay, ITIL needs continuous attention, energy and passion. That's what it needs. Chew, muskie. Practice what you preach. Hey, I believe that the CSI model is really universally applicable. So, for example, how does the CSI model apply to your career, to your house and other assets, to your organization as a whole, to your IT function more specifically, to your own education or to your children's education, to your family, or to the very reason of your being and existence? Realize, service management, ultimately, it's a journey of never-ending and continuous improvement. It is not a destination by itself.
Yeah, what's up, Doc?
Time for another sample question. Hey, service and process improvements are part of which one of the following CSI steps? Answer A, where are we now? Answer B, how do we get there? Answer C, where do we want to be? And answer D, did we get there? I'll give you a couple of seconds to think about the answer, and then as usual, we continue. Okay, service and process improvements are absolutely part of how do we get there? So what do we need to do to get there? And then think of like the SIP, the Service Improvement Plan. Next topic, it's about understanding the role of measurement for CSI. Okay, hey, until then, live long and prosper, nano, and as usual, I'll be back.